Well, hello everybody. These are my thoughts for the fifth Sunday of Easter. How can it be the fifth Sunday of Easter? It always fascinates me how God's story, um, the readings that we hear in the lectionary, and our stories sometimes intertwine. So we got two readings today. Our Old Testament reading is from Genesis. It's the story of Noah, and our Gospel reading is a very familiar passage from St. John that we often hear at funerals, that starts, "Do not let your hearts be troubled." The trouble is, I think our hearts are very troubled at the moment. We're worried about how we are going to get back to a new normal. So in the news, we are waiting for our government to make some sort of pronouncement on uh, when and how the restrictions are going to be lifted. And I see also that our House of Bishops have been meeting to discuss what a phased return to church might look like. So I want to look at the reading, our Old Testament reading from Noah, because I think there is nothing new under the sun. Um, we always talk about it raining for 40 days and 40 nights, but if you look very closely at that reading, you'll see that it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and then it was another 150 days before the ark came to rest on Mount Ararat. And then it was about another 3 months before the water receded and Noah could come out of the ark. And the interesting thing in that story is that the first thing that Noah did was he worshipped. And not only that, he worshipped God in a new way. And it reminded me of something that I read that Elie Wiesel said at the end of the Holocaust, and I want to read it to you. On April the 11th, 1945, Buchenwald, Hungary, in Buchenwald, Hungary, emaciated, sick, and weakened by fear and terror, Jewish inmates welcomed their sudden freedom in a strange manner. They do not grab the food offered by the American liberators. Instead, they gather in circles and pray. Their first act as free human beings was to say the Kaddish, thus glorifying and sanctifying God's name. And it made me think about Noah coming out of the ark and everything being new and having to worship God in a new way. A lot of the language that we are hearing is that longing to get back to normal, a normal way of life. And when we can get back to church, and we need to remember that story of Noah, that it was a long time before he came out of the ark. And then there was this new normal. The way we worshipped before the pandemic was comforting and familiar. But I don't think we can use the language of going back to what we had before. I think we need to use the language that this is going to be new and this is going to be different. This is a new start for us as a worshipping community. It's a possible start of renewal for us. And we will flourish and we will survive if we are able to take on board that radical change that's needed. Because every generation of the church has existed because of its ability to adapt and to change. Because the message of Jesus doesn't change. The message of the resurrection, the message of new life in Jesus doesn't change. Which returns me to the gospel. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. There are many ways that we can worship God together, many new ways. And I pray that we can be creative together, that we can embrace change together, and that very soon we will be gathered together to worship God. Amen.